Hi and welcome to 2.8, the last section of module number 7. So, much like with everything else, we end with we had the inequalities last section. Now we're going to do inequalities and story problems. So, there's a couple keywords that we're going to be translating into inequalities. So, at least, at most, cannot exceed, must exceed, and is between. So, we'll kind of look at these in the context of what's going on, and just go from there. So these first three right here we're going to translate into symbols. Okay, so a number, generally x, must exceed. So must exceed, you must be greater than, you couldn't be equal to 5. Exceeding is more than. So a number, x, must exceed 5, and we're good. Now next we have the amount of acid, which I will call A, is at most. Well, if it's at most 40, it's either 40 or less than 40. So the amount is less than or equal to 40. Okay? And the cost of lettuce, we'll say cost of lettuce is C, is no less than. So no less than means it must be greater than, or it could be equal to, because it's just not less than. So greater than or equal to 0.94 per pound. Okay? So those are just translating those. Now we got a couple problems in here that we're going to be doing, and we'll just kind of go through these, and I'll explain how I would go about solving them. So the first one, Rebecca's quiz grades are 73, 75, 89, and 91. Determine in terms of an inequality what scores on the last quiz will allow her to get an average grade of at least an 85. So what we want, and I generally do these in words, is her average at least means greater than or equal to 85. So we want her average to be at least an 85. Okay, so now how do we figure out what these averages are? Well, if we're trying to find the average of 3 numbers, we add the numbers together and divide by 3. If we want to know the average of 4 numbers, we add the numbers together, divide by 4. And same thing with 5 numbers, and 6 and 7 and 8 and so on and so forth. Now right now we know the scores for the quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, and quiz 4. So now we need to determine what scores on her last quiz. So we don't know, say x equals score of last quiz. So we're trying to determine what she needs to get on this last quiz to have an average grade of 85. So all told, there's the 73 quiz, that's one. There's the 75 quiz, that's the second. 89, that's the third quiz. And 91, that's the fourth quiz. And then this x is the fifth quiz. So to find the average of those numbers, we have 73 plus 75 plus 89 plus 91 plus x. So we add all the quiz scores together, our first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Divide that by 5, and that must be greater than or equal to 85. So a couple things we can do at this point right now. We can combine the like terms up here, that is, we can combine all these numbers together. And we also want to get rid of this 5, so we can multiply both sides by 5 to undo the division. So if I multiply by 5 here, I have to multiply by 5 on this side. So this 5 cancels with that. When I add these together, 73 plus 75 plus 89 plus 91 is 328. So this gives us 328 plus x has to be greater than or equal to, now I have 85 times 5, that equals 425. So this is the equation we need to solve now. 328 plus x equals 425. Well, we need to get rid of the 328, so subtract 328. So we get cancellation here. Our x carries down. And then we have 425 minus 328, and this is going to give us a 97. So, in order for Rebecca to get the average of 85, she must score at least a 79. She must score a 97%. Sorry about that. 97%. So, that's how you go about doing that. And really, we know what this problem's a little bit complicated, but we know what an average is. We just add the quiz scores together and divide by the total number of quizzes. It's tricky when we have the quiz score we don't know, but we let that be x, gives us 5 total quizzes. Add those 5 numbers together, as you see we're doing right here. Divide by our 5, and then we're off to the races. So hopefully that made sense. Now, next one is a fixed cost and variable cost problem. So, to make copies of a blueprint, Vantage Graphics charges $5 for a setup fee and $4 a copy. So, $5 is the setup fee regardless if we make 1 copy, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, there's a variable cost, the $5 setup fee. There's a fixed cost, the $5 setup fee, and the variable cost, $4 per copy. Myra can spend no more than $65 copying her blueprints. So, her cost, no more than means less than or equal to 65. Okay, so her cost needs to be less than or equal to 65. I think saying that in words helps us once we start coming up with the equation. Now, what number of copies will allow her to stay in her budget? So I'm going to say x equals number of copies. Okay, now her costs are going to be $5, that fixed cost, plus 4x. Because if she has 1 copy, it's $4. 2 copies, 8. 2 times 4. 3 copies, 3 times 8, 12. So that has to be less than 65. So this is her cost here. This is what her constraint she has to stay under. So now we're going to solve this. So divide by, So if we're doing this, we need to get rid of this 5. And because we really want to isolate the x here. So getting rid of the 5, we subtract 5 from both sides. That gives us 4x is less than or equal to 60. Divide by 4. And we have x is less than or equal to 15. So, Myra hold on, sorry about that. Myra can make no more than 15 copies. So you could say she could make 15 or less copies, less than or equal to 15. A lot of ways to state the actual answer, but that makes so much sense to me. So hopefully that made sense to you, and we'll see you for the rest of these problems.